Hello everyone, welcome to another expert session. Today we have another very talented and successful expert with us. Today we have Abhisek Chakraborty. Abhisek right now doing PhD in statistics at Texas University. And before that, I would like to say something about him that he did his BSc in statistics from Narendra Ramakrishna Mission. Then in 2016, he ranked 5th in IIT JAM exam, and on the same year, he also cleared that ISI exam, and he did MSc in statistics from ISI Delhi. And then he did 1 year of job at Reliance Digital. And after that, he right now he is in Texas University. He's pursuing his PhD for last 3 years. So thank you, Abhisek. Thanks. So let's welcome our expert, Abhisek. So welcome to the session.
Thank you for the lenient and kind introduction. Yes, Shubhajit was my batchmate back in Nandapur. We had wonderful time. We shared the same hostel. Those days are still some of the best days of our lives.
Right. So one thing I also one point I also like to thank Abhisek, that is right now he is in from USA. So right now he's in the US, and the time zone is at his time is at night 12 at PM. So that is the main thing, that giving us time at that night. So that's for thanks for that also. So,
okay.
So let's start with the question of the session. Like, first of all, I want to know that right now we are doing in PhD. So as far I know, you are very brilliant in your academic career from starting from childhood. So I would like to know that is it your mind from your childhood that you will do research kind of work, or slightly you grow love of the subject and then you go for PhD? What was the mindset from your childhood?
No, I mean, most of us do not have any idea about what a PhD is. So, and I didn't have anyone in my immediate family or surroundings who did a PhD. So obviously I didn't have something of that kind in mind.
Okay.
Yeah, I enjoyed mathematics. And so in 11-12, we had to decide to do something after 11-12. I either go for engineering, physics, or some doing some BSc in some subjects. So then initially I thought I was going to go for mathematics. Then the mathematics teacher that I had at that time, he suggested to look into something called statistics. And I didn't know a lot. So that's a chance that I took in 2013. And I went to a wonderful place, which is RKMC Narendra. And while being there doing BSc, I came across few people who were actually doing PhD in statistics at ISI and at various universities here in USA. So at that point in time, I was introduced to this idea, and so yeah, that's sort of the beginning of my thought, whether I'll go for a PhD or not before that.
Right. Okay, fine. So from in continuous on that, I want to know you that from when you start seriously thinking about that PhD, like I have to go for a PhD, and we know that for a PhD, when we are thinking about PhD, then we have to start some preparation, like searching for topic and etc. So when you start thinking about PhD, and what are the steps you have taken to you make ready for that PhD?
Right. So you should have some idea, some preference at the beginning of your master's regarding whether you are wanting to go for a job or a PhD, because as you mentioned, the preparations and the steps that you will need to go through would be slightly different. For example, if you are going for a job, you should try to go for an internship, or if you're going for a PhD, maybe do a project so that you can get a good recommendation later on. So yeah, at the beginning of masters, I started thinking about going for a PhD. Then while I was I was in the first year of masters in IIT Delhi, I changed my mind and thought that I should probably go for a job. And in the second year of my master's in ISI Kolkata, I already did an internship, got a pre-placement offer from Reliance Industries Limited, and I could spend some more time regarding going back to the thought of doing a PhD. So yeah, first and second year of masters, that's when I seriously started considering going for a PhD and looking to do stuff that would help me going forward.
Right. So basically in BSc, we have to mainly read the subject and know the subject. And from starting from the MSc, I have to think about and whether should I go for a job or whether should I go for PhD.
Right. I don't think when we are BSc students, we have that maturity to decide whether we should go for a PhD or go for jobs. So yeah, let's enjoy your BSc days. I mean, try to learn as much as you can. Try to have some fun as well. And when you are in masters, try to have the right thoughts in place so that you have the right preparations. So yeah, not before masters.
Okay, fine. So one thing you have mentioned previously that when I am targeting for PhD, then I have to do some internship to get some good recommendation, or in job I have to do some, sorry, in PhD I have to do project, or in job I have to do internship. So you did 2 year of job, 1 year of job also. So from that point, I want to ask you that when I am targeting for PhD or when I am targeting for that job, so I have to do project or internship, or in my selection of my elective paper also, there are also some variation we see. So what are the thing? Suppose I want to do PhD, then which kind of paper should I take, or does it really matter I am doing project or not? Like you did internship, but you get a very good PhD. So can you little bit elaborate on that point?
So there is no hard and fast rule that if you are going for a job, you have to go for an internship, or if you are doing a PhD, you should devote your summer doing some projects. There is no hard and fast rule, and actually the summer is about 2 to 3 months. So most probably you are not going to get a lot done within that short period of time.
Right.
So I think whether you are going for a PhD or a job, going for an internship can add to your resume and can add to your experience as well, because most of us that first internship experience is our first exposure to corporate life.
Right.
So there is no hard and fast rule. If you get an internship, try to go for it, and if you're planning on going for a PhD, maybe sign up for a project to a professor during your regular semesters, when you have a lot of time. If you spend like 1 year doing a project with somebody, then maybe you'll be able to make some good progress in that project, and that particular professor would be able to write a good recommendation later for you as well. So yeah, if you can manage to get an internship, it's a great idea. And yeah, so that's something that I think the approach can be, but everyone has their own opinion. So if somebody wants to do a project in summer, he or she is more than welcome. That works too.
Right. But can you say some good project, like how should I, suppose I want to do project and in my university, suppose I don't have that good environment. So how to should I approach to project or a different professor for projects? So how should I approach for that?
Right. It's a bit difficult to decide the project or the professor, because again, we do not have that maturity to look at someone's research and have a good idea of what kind of work he or she does, or whether I'd be interested in that or not. So it's always a good idea to go back to your seniors, especially in that particular college, to have some idea about which professors to contact, which kind of projects to work on. So I think seniors come in handy. And once you have talked to some, at least 5-10 seniors, you'd have some idea about which professors to get in touch with. Try to look at whether those professors are very active in their research. So you can look at their Google Scholar or ResearchGate to see whether they make regular publications, whether they have made regular publications in recent years. That's a good indication that these guys are very active in the research. And if they can afford to give you some time, it's a great idea to get in touch with them and work on a problem and get a semi flavor of what you are going to do if you are going for a
Right,
PhD.
right, fine, fine. So from here, I want to ask one more question. Like from PhD, like as far as I know, from starting from that second or third semester, I have to apply for a PhD in different country or at that field.
Right.
So how marks is important? How marks is important? Like for first two semester, how marks is important to get an marks? And one thing is institute. Like you are from IIT, so how institute is important to get good PhD marks and institute both?
I think it's pretty difficult to point out what kind of marks you need to get or what kind of institutes you need to go to have a good PhD. If you have a good resume and good CV, you can get into good universities from anywhere. But having said that, going to a nationally renowned institute for statistics, it would be ISI, IITs, Calcutta University, Delhi universities. Going to these places would help you. And yes, of course, marks helps, but that's not the beginning or end of the story. There is more to it. Good marks would not hurt you. It's always good. But at the same time, if you have done few projects, if you have good recommendations, if you have taste scores, meaning if you have done reasonably well in GRE, TOEFL, stuff like that, then there is a good chance that you'd get into a good college. Yeah. So in a nutshell, institute may make some difference, but if you can put in the right effort, you can just get to a good university with a good resume.
Right. And if I am not from a premium institute, then also if I do some good project with some premium professor or premium institute, that can be
Right.
help me also.
Right. I mean, not a professor. I mean, he or she might not be a professor of a premium institute, but if he or she is very active researcher in his or her area, if you can get hold of somebody like that and do a good project, that will help you. Yeah, as you mentioned, there are some programs where you can apply for summer research assistantships in various institutes. So that's a good idea as well. But yeah, do not be a snob. Do not always look for great universities.
Right.
Or look for great people. They'll help you go forward.
Fine. So now you are in PhD. Like, why foreign country? Why outside India? What is the good thing we get from outside, from foreign countries? And which are the countries for good for statistics?
Right. So if you look at the cohort of statistics students from ISI, CU, or IITs coming for a PhD abroad, away from India, I think most of the people come to USA. Some will go to some European countries like Netherlands, but almost everyone comes to USA. First of all, so I think it would be better to share my own opinion why I choose. I have come for a PhD here. First of all, you get to stay in a different country for 4 or 5 years, so that adds to your life experience. And secondly, if you can come to a good university, the career prospects that you have after graduation, whether you are going for a postdoc or applying for assistant professorship, meaning you are going for academia, or you are going for a job, that, I mean, if you come to a good university, that would be extremely helpful for you. I mean, if you are, say, wanting to work in a R&D of a good company in USA, then it's always a great idea to have the PhD done in USA. It's not that you cannot do it after doing a PhD in India, but maybe you'll have to do a additional postdoc, or you have to have plenty of publications to actually capture the attention of these big companies or big universities. So yeah, that's the motivational point that I had in my mind.
Okay. And one thing, when I'm IIT, then I saw that many of our some of the friends who are going for PhD, and they are at the time of December, they are searching lots of institute, and they are thinking about which one is best, which one is worse, and where should I go, all these things. So when I am searching for a good institute for PhD or good topic or anything, so what should be my checkbox? What should I think of? See that is it a good or not? Where should I go or not? Which point should I see that also?
Right. So again, I'll go back to a point that I made earlier. Talk to your seniors. If you are coming from an institute where there are say 40 seniors in your senior batch. Suppose when you are in
Okay.
first year, there are 40 seniors in your second year class or 60 seniors. If some good proportion of them are going for a PhD, ask them. They would have gone through the whole procedure once.
Right,
So
right.
yeah, you'll have a tentative list of universities and tentative list of professors maybe who to apply to. Then once you have that base in mind, you can look at various websites of different universities and add to it. But do not start from scratch. You
Yeah.
can always ask your seniors, have some base, and work on it. Yeah. So that was my approach as well.
Okay. Okay. Now, when I am searching for PhD, I am approaching them. I am sending them off my cover letter and all these things. Because to get a good PhD in outside India, we need to get a good recommendation from institute, and we also have a good recommendation also outside India, and we have to write our ideas, cover letter, all these things. So, what is the strategic planning to get a good PhD? How to we should approach? Can you say
Right.
little about
So there are few checkboxes that you should look at. Uh, your master's score,
that?
that makes some difference. Your recommendations, most universities ask for 3 recommendations.
Okay.
Some may allow you to provide 5 recommendations. So try to get good recommendations. Try to get recommendations from people who know you, not that you have taken a class or something like that. That can be helpful, but the most helpful recommendations are the ones which has some unique characteristics of you described by the professor. So that's something that you can make sure happens if you work with that professor on a project or something like that.
Okay.
So spend 6 months a year working on a project with some professor, and if you make progress, more often than not, he or she would be more than happy to write a good recommendation for you. So recommend number one is the result that you have in your master's. Secondly, 3 to 5 recommendations. Thirdly, a statement of purpose. So what kind of things you are interested in. I don't know for sure how important this is, but this is something that you have to send out as well. And the test scores like GRE and TOEFL. Some universities may require you to take something called subject GRE, but I didn't have to take that for the universities I applied to. So yeah, these 4 pointers: marks, 3 to 5 recommendations, your statement of purpose, and your test scores like GRE, TOEFL, and subject GRE. So that's what these are the sort of boxes you need to tick.
And here, one thing I want to ask that when I'm writing the statement of purpose, so can you say something about that? So suppose I am starting that writing. That how should who points should I keep to when I am writing that statement of purpose? It should be brief
Right.
or should be elaborate, or how should I write that?
So there'd be some guidelines regarding how your SOP should look like. SOP means statement of purpose. So there should be some guidelines in the university website. And again, seniors would come in handy once again.
Right.
So that's the repeating theme of this discussion. So ask your seniors, look at the university websites, and you can look at internet to see how SOPs look like, but do not copy paste from somewhere. Get the theme right on your own. Try to send specialized SOPs to various universities. So if you are applying to a specific university, look at some of the professors in that department, look at their research interest, and make it obvious that their research interest is in line with what you want to do. So yeah, write specialized statement of purposes for various universities. And so when you are working on getting these done, start working on it early. Do not write everything in a week and send the application out. Start early. So most of the deadlines would be somewhere in December or January for most universities. Have 3 to 4 months, work on it, get it done, get it reviewed by some seniors if you want to. So yeah, start ahead of time. Do not do everything in a week and send it out.
Right. Great. So here you have already mentioned about that exams, English exam test score. So can you say on that, like what are the score and which university or which country allow for which score, which test, and around how to prepare for that, and what is the cutoff mark, what is the good score in that also?
Right. So for most US universities, if you are applying for a STAT PhD, they'll require you to take GRE and TOEFL. And some of the universities, as I already mentioned, would require you to take subject GRE. For European universities, it really depends on that particular university. So you should do some specialized research about that particular department, what they need.
Okay.
So it's not that unified as is the case in USA. So most of the US universities will need GRE and TOEFL, and there is no marks that's good marks or bad marks. The universities really decide on the cutoffs of GRE and TOEFL, but they never tell us what those cutoffs are. Again, let's get back to the repeating theme, ask your seniors, and try to have a good idea about what kind of scores you need to get. And about preparation, so there is these scores are standardized scores, standardized tests. So you can look at lot of question papers online. So there is something called ets.org. So you can look into their test papers. You can practice a lot. You can be a math genius, still might not be able to solve those MCQs in a very short period of time. So GRE is divided in 2 parts. One is about quantitative skills, so you have to do some basic mathematics, and the other one is stuff like so things related to your skills in English language. Again, if you are great in English, still practice a lot. So practice is the name of the game, because you are trying to solve certain number of questions within a short period of time. So yeah, practice. Look at these websites, get hold of some test papers, and practice a lot. More you practice, better it would be.
Right, fine. And then I would like to like scholarship, about scholarship. Like as far as know, in UK it's hard to get scholarship, and in USA it is little easy. How to approve? What is the? Can you tell us about the scholarship?
Right. So in my experience, at least from for my batchmates from ISI, I think most of the PhD offers include a stipend, which is more than enough to survive and save if you are careful enough. But some of the offers can maybe, I mean, they may not provide you with stipends. And I think it's if you are not from a very financially well-to-do family, I don't think that's a realistic option. So you should really look for a PhD offer which has some financial aid and stipend, which is good enough to live in a particular city in USA. So my approach was, if I didn't get a stipend, I will not come for a PhD. So yeah.
Here, can you say something that suppose in use as you said that for many maximum of countries, the maximum of institute has stipend included in their courses in PhD. So if I
in their
don't have,
PhD offer. Yeah.
yep. So
Sometimes it happens that you get an offer, but the financial offer is not there at the beginning. So they try to arrange for funds and
okay.
then give you a scholarship. But do not come for a PhD if you do not have guaranteed PhD funding for a certain number of years.
Right.
So that was my approach.
Right. And if they didn't arrange for me that fund, if there any way I can arrange, I can search from scholarship, search for some funding thing. Is there any way for that?
I'm not super aware about that, but the universities usually arrange for the funding.
Okay.
I'm not super aware of arranging for funds for yourself. If you can, if you have some leads on that, you can do that. But please try to make sure, I mean, living in USA is not cheap. It's pretty expensive. So you have to make sure the source of funding that you have arranged is stable and is going to be there for next 4 to 5 years or whatever the time frame may be.
Right, fine. And please tell us about the cost, like from giving from GRE. For was the preparation of PhD start from that GRE exam, that test, and starting from that and then we have to apply for different institute. There are also some costs, and then going for a PhD. And as far as I know that that PhD, the stipend or scholarship start from first or second month of the PhD started. So in that process, how much money will go from my pocket?
Right. So so you spend quite a bit of money. What let's take the approach of looking at the biggest expenses first.
Okay.
The biggest expenses that you'd be occurring is, so as you said, living expenses for a month or 1.5 months, because
after 1.5 month that scholarship starts.
Suppose your PhD program begins in the beginning of September.
Okay.
You'd get your first month's salary at the end of September. And suppose you decide to go to that place 2 weeks earlier. So that counts for 1.5 months of living expenses, right? So, and you'd have certain expenses as well, like maybe there is some payment that you have to make in the apartment that you stay, stuff like that. Maybe you'd be needing to buy some furnitures, things like that. So what I've seen for me and for my friends, so that would be around $2,000 to $3,000 for a place like College Station, which is not super expensive. But most of the college towns are like College Station; they are not super expensive. So that would be like $2,000 to $3,000. Next biggest expense would be your flight ticket. That would be like $40,000 to $60,000 on average. That it can be lower or higher, but maybe another $1,000. So $2,000 and $1,000, $3,000. Then so if you have to take GRE and TOEFL, those fees used to be somewhere between 15 to 25,000 INR. I don't know the prices right now. They might have gone a little up. So, and it might so happen you do not get to your desired score in GRE in the first attempt. You might need to take it twice. So average, let's take it like another $1,000. So that takes the total to $4,000. Then application fees vary. There are some universities where there is no application fee, and there are some universities where there is like $50 to $100 of application fee. So that really depends on the number of universities you apply to. So maybe that's like another $500, $4,500. Then there is something called service fee that you have to pay once to apply for the F1 visa.
Okay.
So that would be like $200. So yeah, it would be anywhere between $5,000 to $6,000 out of pocket.
Right.
Yeah, which is like 4.5 lakhs. Yeah.
So that is the cost I have to pay, and then starting from the second month of that, yeah, I will get some fund.
Right.
And one thing I know that in that the fund we are getting, how enough is that?
So I think it's more than enough. In most of the universities that I know about, that people from uh, the top institutes from India comes from, the stipend would be somewhere around $2,000 to $2,500 per month. It can be a bit lower for some cities which do not have as much, where the cost of living is lower. It can be a bit higher for universities in big cities like universities in New York or something like that. But most universities, the stipend would be somewhere between $2,000 to $2,500, and it would be more than enough. I mean, you'd need 50% of it to live, to eat, or to own a car, something like that. So usually it's more than enough, especially in smaller cities like the place I live in. In bigger cities, it can get a bit tight. Again, the repeating thing: if you're going for a university, look for a senior and try to get a good idea about the kind of expenses you are going to incur once you are here. So yeah, it really depends on the place.
Okay. And I will go that you did 1 year of job in PhD, 1 year job in before PhD. So what was your mindset and why you go for PhD? Like suppose I want to go for PhD, so should I do a job of 1 year, arrange some financially and also some experience, gain some experience, then go for PhD? So what is your views?
So it's really a personal decision that you have to make. From my perspective, I was not very sure whether I'll be going for a PhD at the end of my first year of masters, so I didn't apply. I took 1 year more, so I didn't apply with my cohort. And doing job, it's helpful in the sense that, as you mentioned, you'd be able to arrange for your own PhD application fees and all the fees that I've talked about, your airfare, the living expenses for first couple of months, and stuff like that. You can arrange for that, one. And secondly, most of us do not have any corporate experience before our first job. So that's pretty obvious. Yeah. So I think that adds to your experience. I mean, you get to
Right.
see how people deal with stuff in corporate. And after having in academia, doing your bachelor's, master's, going through all these years of schooling, you get to have some enjoyment in your life for a year or two. So yeah, that's an aspect to consider as well. But if somebody is going for a PhD right after their masters, it works fine as well. But if that is the case, you have to have a clear thought about how you are going to arrange these funds, and so yeah, that's sort of the only consideration, and you do not get to get a sneak peek into how corporate life works. But it's completely personal decision, completely logistics issue. For me, going for a job for a year or two seemed to be a better option, so that's what I did.
Right. So from your thinking, from your thinking about that, I got this that suppose I am sure that if from the very first year of MSc, I sure that I want to go for PhD, then fine. But if I am not sure that whether should I go for PhD or not, then also fine. We have a chance, we can go for job and see the corporate world, then go for PhD. Always we have an option to go for PhD. Nothing to worry and nothing to in hurry.
Right. I mean, when you were completing your masters, you would be aged somewhere between somewhere around 23, 24. You have
Right.
plenty of years ahead in you. So look for options. Do not fix it on one option from the beginning. Things will change. Your mindset will change. The situations around you will change. There are people who work for 3 to 4 years, then come for a PhD. It's fine as well. It has its challenges, like if you're detached from your studies for a long period of time, it can take a bit of time to get back to your original situation. But yeah, if you are trying to go for a good PhD, you do not get it, you do not get your dream job, or you do not get a job in the industry that you wanted to work in, that's not end of the story. You are very young. Just keep running and keep looking for options, and in 2 to 3 years you'd be able to get that job that you want. You be able to work in that industry that you want to work in, or get a good enough PhD. So yeah, if you do not get to your number 1 choice, or one of the number 5 in the top 5 choices in your first attempt, that's not at all the end of the world.
So from here, give some tips, the final tips for the student who want to do PhD inside or outside India. So what are your tips from them?
So yeah, as I said, it's a good idea to have some clear thought about whether you are trying to go for a PhD or a job, but do not fix it on that idea. Keep an open mind. And if you are trying to go for a PhD, recommendation plays a huge role. So try to do 1 or 2 good projects where you spend sufficient amount of time so that the professors can write elaborate recommendation letters. I mean, somebody taking a course or somebody doing a project for a month, more often than not, the professor wouldn't be able to write a good recommendation which is personalized for you. So yeah, if you're going for a PhD, talk to your seniors, try to do 1 or 2 good projects where you spend quite a bit of time. So yeah, good recommendations go a long way.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. And that's it for today. And we will meet, we will do another video on this, and we will, on that next video, we will learn from him the another thing. Like here in first video, we will mainly cover that PhD part. And from the next video, we will know his journey, his lifestyle in Texas in 3 years. We will listen a lot of things from him. So that's it for today, and we will meet on the next video. Thank you.